In a time where games are slow, with no artistic vision, every character is built ugly to pander to politics, and developers hate their customers, there comes in a game with the developer that shows the finger to the mainstream and a complete victory for the fans. From the epic developer Shift Up comes Stellar P.
Oh god. These POVs, holy. Okay.
I mean, Stellar Blade. This game was first teased back in 2019, and even from the visuals, design, and aesthetics, they knew exactly what they were doing. This game dropped like lightning in a thunderstorm. The action is of the games of 2000s, where you would play as a ridiculously powerful character, super hot and of unknown origin, here being Eve, the fiery beauty from an orbital space colony. To cleanse the Earth overrun by monsters, combat is smooth, medium-paced, varied, with hard-hitting attacks, perfect dodges, and a parry that goes ting! I mean, listen to this. Ooh, yeah! If NieR Automata and Bayonetta had a love child, this would be it. A game is not just based on visuals, combat, and soundtrack. There is such a thing as game feel, and it is such a fundamental thing to game development, and it is so hard to get it right. But in Stellar Blade, they've nailed it. That's just the smoothness of how a game moves from one scenario to another, and this game pulls it off magnificently. Eve is so elegant. She is graceful, be it parkour, swinging, going from one ledge to another. Even transitions from one cutscene to gameplay is smooth, and this is thanks to the perfect animation. It is absolutely well done of how developers have managed to smoothen out a cutscene when it goes from gameplay to cutscene to gameplay to cutscene. It feels like a single shot, and it is fantastic. The pseudo-open world gives lots of characters, varied locations, and lots of content. Meaningful content, missions that would give you characters that you like with personality. And anyone who's played NieR Automata knows that this game very much takes inspiration from that particular game. Every location is a highlight. Every location is worth revisiting. Every location has something special that resonates with your memory. The reason that people really fell in love with NieR Automata's exploration and they really enjoyed the environments is because they remembered that the things happen. And that's how the game familiarizes itself. It took you from one point of the map to another, over and over again, each with a different purpose, each with something unique. The world showed progression, and it changed accordingly. That's what made it so much fun, and Stellar Blade is just like that. The game has ruined cities, deserts, dungeons, and a plethora of environments, all in high fidelity, all eye candy. Players of NieR Automata will absolutely love this because it's familiar. The color palette is such that the game will show you all the important parts that need to be in focus. If you want to know the prime example of players' attention, just look at Eve. Words from the director himself.
에서 봤을 때 엉덩이가 어떤 역할을 하나요? 사람들이 되게 통용적으로 성적인 부위로 인식하긴 하지만 그 아티스트가 생각하는 그 엉덩이에 대해서 한번 여쭤보고 싶은데
이제 엉덩이를 얘기하려면 골반을 이야기를 해야 됩니다. 골반은 기본적으로 내장을 담는 그릇이라고 보시면 됩니다. 내장이 있고 그 뒤에 스파인이 휘어져 있고 그 다음에 이제 골반이 있는데 골반도 남자는 약간 서 있고 여자는 약간 기울어져 있어요. 그래서 여자는 내장이 약간 앞으로 쓸려 나와서 배가 조금씩 나옵니다. 그러면서 거기서 고관으로 가면서 생기는 게 비너스의 언덕이라는 곳이에요. 그리고 여성 같은 경우는 당연하게도 근육보다 지방의 양이 많기 때문에 엉덩이가 근육 라인이 잘 안 보입니다. 그래서 근육하고 지방하고 지방으로 쌓여진 엉덩이하고 다리 사이의 경계가 아주 뚜렷하지가 않아요. 그리고 옆에서 보이는 그런 힘을 줄 때 나오는 근육들이 선수가 아닌 이상은 잘 보이지 않습니다. 그래서 굉장히 덩어리를 감을 표현을 해주죠. 그게 허벅지랑 이어지면서 굉장히 인체에서 가장 큰 근육과 지방이 모여있는 곳인데 가장 두꺼운 곳입니다. 허리도 두껍다고 할 수 있지만 허리는 이제 내장 안에 근육이 아니라 등이나 지방이 아니라 내장과 뼈와 이런 것들이 있잖아요. 그래서 지방과 근육으로 이루어져서 흐름을 만들어내주는데 그게 남자는 약간 딱딱해요. 골반뼈도 튀어나와 있기도 하고 뭐 승마살 같은 건 남자는 거의 없으니까. 근데 여성은 그 각진 부분을 지방으로 다 채워서 곡선으로 만듭니다. 그렇기 때문에 그 부분이 굉장히 아름다울 수밖에 없어요. 이거 나가도 되는 건가요?
그럼요.
네.
The game's soundtrack? Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Nobody could have asked for a better soundtrack, and for some reason it's so familiar. Well, you'd be surprised. The composer of the NieR and Drakengard series and the legendary composer of NieR Automata, Keiichi Okabe, is the one who helms the position to compose the soundtrack for this game. You could play this game blind. Listening to this game is an absolute pleasure. Whether you're in combat, whether you're exploring, whether you're strolling, even when you're just having a cutscene, the soundtrack in the background is just so good that the environment just speaks to you that much more. Most games in general have progression systems that incentivize the players to engage in the gameplay. Stellar Blade is no different and went with a simple but effective system. Multiple skill trees with just the right number of skills. You start with the combat tree, survival tree, and special moves tree, and later on, 2 other trees are added. It's not super grindy, it has a stellar presentation. One thing this game got right, among other things, was the customization. Costumes, outfits, apparel, we got fits. They're sexy, cute, beautiful, and everything was unlockable. No microtransactions, no loot boxes, or scams like Battle Pass. It was all unlockable in-game. Explore, get product. Explore, get content. Engage with content, get more content. That's what the best part is. You don't have to pay for extra, unless you're counting DLC, but that's just traditional at this point. We have a game that allows us to unlock all our favorite things, and it gave us all the more reason to explore, and we loved every single second of it. The release of Stellar Blade was a complete paradigm shift in the gaming industry, because the whole culture changed. The whole culture changed, and a whole new set of eyes had opened as to what gaming could be. Or rather, it was just a reflection of what gaming used to be. Eve had an impact on the gaming market, like Lara Croft had in her time.
Miss Croft, are you deaf?
I don't know. Let's see. Try begging for your life like you did the last time we spoke.
Like Bayonetta had on her time.
Call me Daddy.
And what 2B had in her time.
Range attack gear.
The culture of gaming consists of developers, the media like IGN and Gaming Bible, etc., and the customers. And as of late, the media, they're completely out of touch with fans and customers. The big IPs like Fable, Dragon Age, Assassin's Creed, The Last of Us 2, Concord, especially Concord. All these games want to preach the choir. They make us wait excessively for games with inflated budgets and then lecture us about what's good and bad. We get ugly characters, bad gameplay, misrepresentation, and worst of all, gaming journalists like IGN, GameSpot, Gaming Bible, etc., who praise these games and hate the players who don't buy bad products. The hate for players who support Stellar Blade is so bad. There were all these accusations of gamers were sexist, they were misogynist, that they were pervs who only liked Stellar Blade for the wrong reasons. It was an explosion. IGN said that Eve looks like a doll made by a man who was never touched a woman. Bro, have you seen the man's wife? She helped in designing the character. Gaming media was seething for it because they didn't see someone ugly, because they saw this as an affront to them, that gamers actually liked attractive characters, and they made themselves look more pathetic than ever. That's why Stellar Blade was so successful. They gave us good gameplay, good characters, great soundtracks, and a fantastic product. That's what Stellar Blade is. A great game for gamers by gamers, not activists. No one was pandered to. Just buy the game, play the game, enjoy the game. Eve is a phenomenon. I don't need to say anything further. This is all you need to hear. This is what the developer of Baldur's Gate 3 said it best. Thank you very much, and have a good day.
The game of the year 2025 was going to be made by a studio who found the formula to make it up here on stage. It's stupidly simple, but somehow it keeps on getting lost. Studio made their game because they wanted to make a game that they wanted to play themselves. They created it because it hadn't been created before. They didn't make it to increase market share. They didn't make it to serve as a brand. They didn't have to meet arbitrary sales targets or fear being laid off if they didn't meet those targets. And furthermore, the people in charge forbade them from cramming the game with anything whose only purpose was to increase revenue and didn't serve the game design. They didn't treat their developers like numbers on a spreadsheet. They didn't treat their players as users to exploit. And they didn't make decisions they knew were short-sighted and function of a bonus or politics. They knew that if you put the game and the team first, the revenue will follow. They were driven by idealism and wanted players to have fun. And they realized that if the developers didn't have fun, nobody was going to have any fun. They understood the value of respect, that if they treated their developers and players well, those same developers and players would forgive them when things didn't go as planned. But above all, they cared about their game because they loved games. It's really that simple.